This is a screencast recording for the Access Chapter 1 Grader project, Homework 1. So the first thing we're going to do is navigate to the My IT Labs, specifically to the Module 11 folder, and open that. And then when we find our Access Chapter 1 Grader project, Homework 1, we're going to open it, and we're going to download our files that we're going to use in the Grader project. So we click on the download files, and then I like to download them one at a time. It just seems to be less problematic. So I click on open when done, and that'll open the document. So I'm going to minimize that. Then I'm going to download the Access database file, which is the second one here. I'll do the same thing. Click on open, and that will open the Access database application and the file that I just downloaded. If you get that enable content button, you want to click that. That'll allow you to modify it. And then the last file is this Excel file, which contains records of our employees that we're going to use to download to our database once we've got our table created. So I'm going to go ahead and close that because we're done with the downloads. And I'm going to go to the instructions, and the first instruction is to start Access and download that file, the Access database file that we downloaded. And then we are going to open the employees table in Datasheet view and change the ID field name to employee ID, no space, and then its caption is going to be employee space ID. So we go to our database file that we opened, downloaded. And to open the employees table, we can either right-click and select Open, or we can just double-click on it, and that'll open the table. And the first instruction, first thing we're going to do is change this from ID to employee ID. So to do that, we've selected that ID field, and that brings up the Table Tools. We want to select that Fields tab in the Table Tools section there. And once we've selected that, there's this Name and Caption option. So we're going to use that to change the name of the field to Employee ID, no space. And we're going to add the caption Employee space ID and click OK. And now you can see that name of the field was changed to Employee ID, no space. So now for this next step, in the second and third columns, we're going to insert the name Quick Start fields. So we go back to our table that is still open in the Datasheet view, and we're going to click to add. But instead of selecting from this short list of options, we're going to go up here to the Add and Delete section and the More Fields. And under the More Fields, there is a subcategory called Quick Start. And in that category is the name Quick Start. When you click on that, it adds the last name and first name to our table. And so these Quick Start fields are, if I look at that again, things that are used quite often in tables, like address. You can add all the fields that are associated with an address. Your name, which we just did, the phone number, start and end dates, status field. So that's just something to remember that enables you to more easily and quickly create fields in your table if they're common fields. So we're done with step number 3. In step 4, in the fourth column, we're going to add another field named Date Hired, and we're going to use the date and time data type. So go click to add, and we want a date and time field. And we want that name and caption, or we're going to change the name to Date Hired. And I highly recommend you use the name and caption dialog, or the name and caption properties dialog, to do this so that it gets saved properly. So we're going to click OK. And now that's date hired. And we used the date and time, so we're done with step 4. Okay, step 5. In the 5th column, we're going to add a field named department ID with a short text data type and a field size of 50. So department ID, no space. So click on the click to add, and we just want short text. And again, we're going to use our name and caption properties to change that to department ID, no space, ID's uppercase, and then we click OK. But we also want to change this field size to 50. So we're going to change, we do that in this properties section with the department ID field selected and the Fields tab selected. So we're going to change that to 50 and hit enter. Now we've done that, so now we want to save and close the table. So go back, and to save and close the table, we can right click on this table, the tab for the table that has the table name, and we can click on the save button there. Or we can click on this save button in the upper left hand corner and then close it over here. But I like to just use this because it's handy, so let's just click save here, and then we're going to close it. Just right click again, and this time we're going to close it. Now first time I did this, I had a problem where it didn't save the department ID. So I'm just going to reopen the employees table and make sure that it saved it like it did. So we're good to go. So I'll go ahead and close that again. This time, instead of closing it this way, I'm going to close it over here with that X, just to show you that there's another way to do it. Okay, so the next step is step number 6. We're going to import records contained in the employee's worksheet, the Excel spreadsheet that we downloaded, and append that to the employees table. So if we look at our employees table right now, all we have are the fields defined. We don't have any data in there. So we're going to close that. And click on the, so to import that data from the Excel file, we're going to click on the External Data tab, click on Excel, because it's an Excel file that we're downloading or importing. And then we need to find that document. When you download it, it's usually in the downloads folder. And here it is, the Skills Access Ch1 employees. So I'm going to select that and click Open. And we're going to append it to the employees table. The employees table is already selected. If it wasn't, we could use this pull down to select the employees table. So make sure the employees table is in that window there, and then click OK. And it takes the data that's in that Excel spreadsheet and imports it. And it parses the data based on the cells and rows that are in that Excel spreadsheet. And we're just going to accept the defaults because the data looks good. Looks like it parsed it correctly. Click Next. Click Next again. And then click Finish. And we don't need to save the import steps, so just click Close. Now, if I open my employees table by right-clicking and click Open, now we have all these records in the table that we created. And that completes step number 6. So now in the employees data sheet, set the column widths to best fit, and then sort by date hired column in ascending order, and filter the data sheet so that only records from the HR department display. So first thing is we're going to set the column widths to best fit. To do that, we're just going to highlight all of the fields and then right click, and for field width we'll click on field width and just click on best fit. when we click on best fit, you'll see that it adjusts the widths of the columns or the fields to fit the data that's in it. In our case, it kind of condensed them a little bit. Okay, so that's the first step in this part of the project. The next thing is we want to sort the date hired in ascending order. So to do that, we click on that little arrow in the field name, and it brings up this menu for us. And at the top here is sort oldest to newest. And you can see that's ascending order because it's ascending from A to Z. The next one would be descending because it's Z to A. We want ascending, so we click that. And then we want to filter the department ID to just the HR. So we're going to unclick Select All and then click the HR button and click OK. And that filters our list down to the HR department. So are just records that have the HR department. So let's check our instructions again. Did we do everything? In the employees data sheet, set the column that's the best fit. We did that. And we sorted by date hired in ascending order. And we filtered it so the only records from the HR department display. So we're done with step number 7. Okay. For the data sheet, we want to set the font size to 10 and the font to Verdana, or Verdana, however you say that. We're going to use the data sheet formatting dialog box to set the cell effect to raised, the background color to automatic, and the grid line color to blue accent 1, and then save and close the table. So we're going to go back to our database and click on our table and click on Home, and we're going to set the font size to 10 and select the Verdana font. Scroll down to the bottom. It's down here somewhere. There it is. Okay, and then so we've done that part. Now we want to use the datasheet formatting dialog box to set the cell effect to raise and do the rest of these things. So to do that, we go back here, and over here on the text formatting section, there's this datasheet formatting. If I click on that button that's in the lower right hand corner, it brings up this datasheet formatting dialog. We want the cell effect to be raised. We want the background color to be automatic. And we want the grid line color to be this blue accent 1, which is in the blue column, the first one. And then we can click OK. And that just formats our table a little bit nicer. So let's check our instructions again. Okay, so we did all that. Now we just need to save and close the table. So we go back here, right click on that table tab, the name tab, click on Save, and right click again and click on Close. And we're done with instruction 8. Moving on to instruction 9, we're going to create a new table in Design View and add a field named Department ID. So let's just work on that right now. So we're going to click on the Create button, and we're going to create the table in Design View. So we're going to click on this table design, and that brings up this table form, and we want to add a field named Department ID with a short text data type, and we want it to be the primary key and a field size of 50. Okay, so Department ID with short text data type. So field name is Department ID, no space, and short text is the data type. We want our field size to be 50. So when we're in this design view, our field properties are down in the bottom section here, which makes it kind of nice. So click on that field size, change that to 50. We want our caption to be Department ID, I believe. Let's check it again. the caption is going to be department space ID. And then we're going to add another field, short text data type as well, and call that department. So first let's add the caption. I'm going to make that department space ID. And then we're going to add another field. So we did all this up to the caption. So we're going to do this last instruction here. Add a second field named department with the short text data type, and then save the table with the name departments. So that second field is going to go here. I'm going to call it department, and it's going to be short text again. And I think we're going to, it didn't say to change in the other properties. So now we're just going to save the table, and we do that by right-clicking on the tab there, click on Save, and we want our table name to be departments. So click OK. Oh, I forgot a step, didn't I? Okay. I forgot to make our department ID the key field, primary key. So with that department ID field selected, we click on this primary key, and then that adds that primary key to that field. So it's a good thing that that checked for us. So now we're just going to save it. We're going to save it with the name of departments. So right click, save, and it already has the name in there, so we're going to click OK. And now in the departments table we want to add some records. So to do that, we have to do that in the Datasheet view. So we're going to go back here, going to right click on our Departments Table tab, and we're going to switch now to the Datasheet view. So you can switch back and forth between the different types of views by right-clicking here and going back and forth. Or over here you can select the different views. But to me it's just kind of handy to just do it here. So we're going to add these departments. So BG, Building and Grounds, is the first one. So our department is BG, uppercase. Hit the tab key, and Buildings and Grounds. Enter. So we have BG, Buildings and Grounds. Now CD, Community Development. CD, tab, Community space Development. Enter. And the next one is CI, Capital Improvement. So we type CI, tab, Capital space Improvement. Enter. Next one is F2, Fire. So F2, tab, fire, Fire. And HR, Human Resources, and then Parks and Recreation. So HR, Human Resources, enter, and then PR is the last one, Parks and Recreation. Enter. Okay, and that completes step number 10. Now, we want to set the department's table column widths to best fit, and then save and close the table. So we go here, highlight our two fields, and right-click, select field width, best fit, and see how it adjusted our width of our department field to match the data that's in it. And now we're going to save and close it. So again, we just right-click here, click on Save, right-click again, and close. Now we're going to create a one-to-many relationship between the two tables using the department ID fields as a common field. We're going to enforce referential integrity, and we're not going to select those cascading options. So we're going to go back to our database. We're going to go to Database Tools. One of the tools is Relationships, and we're going to select the Employees table first. So just do that by double-clicking on the Employees table, and then double-click on the Departments table, and then we can close this dialog box. And now if we drag the Department ID to the Employees table, or the other way around, let me cancel that for a minute. If you click on this Department ID from the Employees and you drag it over, see how it changes to a plus sign? Now it brings up this Edit Relationships table. We want to enforce referential integrity. We're not going to select these cascading options, and we want it to be a one-to-many relationship. So that's all we need to do, and we click Create. And now it's created this relationship between our tables. Notice that the 1 is on the Departments table side. That's because the Department ID is the primary key field in the Departments table. So every one of those Department IDs has to be a unique identifier. So there, by definition, can only be one. But there can be many department or many employees that work for the same Department ID. So that's where you get the one-to-many relationship. Okay, so now we're going to create a relationship report based on those tables. And then we're going to save the report with the default name that's provided. And then close the report. So to do that, it's very simple. We just click on this relationship report. And now it's created the report for us. And we can always refer to that to see what the relationships are between our tables. So we're going to click on the Save, and we're going to just use the default name. So click OK. And we're going to close that. And that completes that step. Now we're going to save and close any open objects, and then close the database window and submit the files. So only object that we have open is this one. So we'll go ahead and save it just to be safe, and then close it. And now we can close our Access database and submit our file. So if we go back to this web page, click on the Upload Completed Files. We're going to choose our file. It should be again in the downloads. Here it is. And so we click on the Open, and that chooses the file. Now we're going to upload it. Click the Upload button. Wait while it's being uploaded. And then when it's uploaded, you get this green message: your completed file has been successfully uploaded. So we have to then finish the submit for grading. And your assignment's been submitted. And we can go back and look to see what we got. The first time I did it, I got 99.4. But I think I probably did better this time. So I'm going to view submissions. This time, yeah. So this time I got 100%. So that's as good as you can get. And if you followed the instructions of my screencast closely, you should get 100% as well. So that completes the screencast for this grader project.